Hey guys and gals, today's video is going to be on prepping for martial law, and I'm going to be your host, the Homestead Prepper. I want to start off with saying that my views on martial law have changed here recently, ever since Trump was elected. Guys, it was my belief that when Obama was president and Hillary was going to be his successor, that people like myself were going to be rounded up and put in internment camps and either re-educated or executed. And I know some of you are saying, well, that's ridiculous, that's crazy. Well, I mean, do your own research. And guys, I think there's going to be some more evidence come out about that in the future. But I say people like myself, people who have strong Judeo-Christian beliefs, and you believe that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, and people who are pro-Second Amendment like me and pro-constitutionalists, rounding me up, that would have been a trifecta. Oh, and we'll throw in prepper. That's bonus. So that's the way I used to think, guys. That was my thinking. You know, gun confiscation, all that. That was going to be the way martial law was going to go down. But like I said, since we've had a regime change in the White House, that's not my beliefs right now. I think when we see martial law in this country, it's going to be to quell civil unrest. And when I say civil unrest, I mean the left. They're going to start rioting. They're not going to be happy about the current state of affairs in the country. And that's all they know is violence, guys. They know violence, and they know how to call you and me either a Nazi or racist. That's all they've got, and that's all they'll ever have. So their leaders could call on their minions, and these weak-minded fools will go out there and start rioting, looting. I mean, they may start some mass shootings, bombings. I mean, they could, send people around in pickup trucks going around shooting out transformers in your neighborhood just to, muddy everything up. So, and guys, it's been said before, and I'll say it here too, there is no way they can put the whole country under martial law. They don't have the manpower to do it, So it's just going to be in certain sections of the country, in my opinion, and I'll break off and we'll look at the map here, and I'll give you my opinion of the hot spots and some ideas. Okay, guys, I'm going to list the hot spots I think will be very target-rich environments for martial law, and that's going to be Los Angeles, California, Chicago, Illinois, and New York, New York. And the reason I say that, guys, is because you have a high liberal population there, and I can see George Soros bussing in some people and causing disruptions. And I can see, the martial law, the National Guard being brought in to calm these disruptions. I mean, you could have other players over here like San Francisco, Miami. I mean, that's a possibility. Baltimore, Boston. Guys, if you live like right here in Sparta, Tennessee, I doubt very seriously you're going to see any martial law called right there. However, just because you live in one of these other areas and you may not see martial law, there may be some disruptions in goods and services because of these other areas that might be affected. So they might not let stuff in or out of those areas. So wherever you live, you should be prepared. That's the point I'm making. Okay, well, some of y'all are probably having a question of how all this is going to go down, how martial law is going to be brought about. Well, one way, guys, it could be brought about is something like this. Now, I'm sure I wasn't the only one who got one of these the other day from the president, and it could say something like martial law has been declared in your area, and there's a curfew. Don't go out after 7 p.m. or before 7 a.m. in the morning, and you will be given further instructions, something like that. You could have the news media, say martial law has been declared. And guys, the biggest thing I want to say about if martial law is declared in your area, the biggest piece of advice I want to give you is do not go to one of those FEMA camps or internment camps. And they're not going to be called that. They're going to be called a shelter, okay? They're going to advertise, that the shelter is so wonderful. Now, if you have a family member who needs medical care or something like that, then you might have to make a decision that you don't want to, and you might have to go, or they might have to go. But if you can, at all costs, stay out of one of those things, whether we're having, good martial law or whatever, I would highly recommend you stay out. And the reason for that, guys, is back in 2004 in the state of Florida, no, we didn't have martial law declared, but we had 4 hurricanes hit the state, and one of them went up to in the Panhandle. That was Hurricane Ivan. The other 3 hit right here in my area, and the news said that if you lived in a low-lying area, mobile home or camper, that you need to go to one of these shelters. That's what it's going to be called, guys, a shelter. And they had people go to these things, and then they didn't like the accommodations, and when they tried to leave, they were not allowed to leave. They had to stay there until the event was over with. So that's what I'm saying, guys. If you can avoid one of these shelters during this time, then I really recommend that you don't go. They had a shelter down in Punta Gorda that had people locked in there, and while the hurricane was raging, the roof ripped off the top of it. So, guys, just a little FYI. But I think you're going to see the handwriting on the wall. You'll see the civil unrest, and if you have a bug out location you can go to, that would be a good idea. You have somebody you can go stay with. Now, not everybody has that option. I realize that, and guys, there's going to be people who are going to want to fight the National Guard. Now, personally, if the National Guard is here and they're trying to calm down civil unrest, they have my full support, okay? I'm going to obey their rules and their curfews and all that. Now, if I find out there's some blue helmets mixed in with the National Guard, and, I see firsthand, where citizens are being raped and people are being disarmed, then of course my views would change, okay? So I just thought I'd put that out there. But a lot of us are just going to have to endure it, and you need to be prepped. Now, guys, there's tons of prepping videos out there. I don't need to go into that. You can look that up for yourself, but you need to get the basics. And then once you have the basics, you can move on to some high value items. Now, I got a little stuff right there. Obviously, first off, you can say that whoever laid that out there has a coffee dependency, okay? Yeah, that's me. I got my Dulce Mira pour over coffee thing right there. All I need is some hot water, and I've got my water filter, my Berkey, my MSR, some MREs. I've got a knife right there. Once you've mastered the basics, maybe a good idea to have a few gallons of gasoline on your hands. And guys, one thing a prep that you really need to have is some cash, okay? Now, maybe in a crisis or an emergency, maybe you wouldn't accept cash, but there may be some stuff that you need to buy, and there will be other people who readily will accept it. So make sure you have some cash on hand. Okay, well, I hear the question out there, well, how long should we be prepared? How long should we figure we have to endure this? Well, guys, to answer your question, I don't really know. But let me just throw a hypothetical out there. Let's just hypothetically say that the Homestead Prepper has enough supplies and preps to sustain him for 1 year. Okay, and let's round that off to 360 days. And then I add my wife, and that knocks it down to 180 days, which is about 6 months. And we have 8 more family members come over here. So we divide 10 into that. That's 36 days, okay? So you see how your preps can be whittled down. And guys, you're going to have a lot of neighbors who didn't do the basic preps, like toilet paper. I think that's going to be a big thing, Just your basic prepping, guys, and make sure you have enough to help out your neighbors too, okay? Because they more than likely are not going to be prepared for this, especially if you live in one of those hot spot areas. Okay, I got a couple other things I want to add here. Okay, guys, I might want to add that you might want to remember some preps for pets. Okay, guys and gals, I'm prepped for martial law. How about you? And this is the Homestead Prepper, out.